I think maybe we can start, and our friends, participants, members will continue joining as we go, but not to waste the precious time that we have with Jelena. It's lovely to see you all here. Just before we start, I would encourage you, if you are in the position to turn on your camera, please do so. We completely understand if you are not, but if you are, it would be lovely to see all the faces and kind of start to be familiar with our community and our network. So welcome to you all. This is our first WOBA event targeting and only made for our members, our group that is kind of continuously growing in the last few months and will continue to do so. So welcome all. It's really lovely to see you and lovely to meet you if we didn't meet yet in person. Today with us is Jelena Galić. Thank you, Jelena, so much for your time. Jelena is currently member of the board of directors at I Bank, and before that, she was the chairperson of the chairwoman of the executive board. Jelena has a impressive and long career in the banking sector, and just kind of to briefly introduce what her scope of work was. Jelena was dealing with strategy development, business restructuring, change management. I mean, everything that you can think of when you have in mind all the positions that she held throughout her career. So let's start, because I'm sure that everyone is familiar with you, Jelena, so I won't take much more of the time. Just before we start, I would like to encourage you to kind of take part in this conversation. We imagine this conversation to be open conversation between our ambassadors, WOBA ambassadors, and WOBA members. And hopefully with your questions and guidance, we will make it as useful as possible to you. And also hearing you speak and share your opinions, views will be a kind of great first step in all of us getting to know each other and working together in the years to come. So I will just start to break the ice and maybe ask first few questions to Jelena, but please do not hesitate. Interrupt me whenever you want. Just to kind of, let's try to make this as spontaneous as possible on Zoom, how much possible it is. Let's try to do it so. So if by any chance you have questions, but you're not in the position to speak or turn on your camera at the moment, just type it in the chat, and I will ask your question. I will pose your question to Jelena. So Jelena, let's start with the kind of basic. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your career journey, what led you to where you are now, and maybe emphasize some key milestones, especially the ones that you're proud of.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Nevena, for this nice, I would say, introduction, and for inviting me to, let's say, open this sessions of, I would say, dialogue between the ambassadors and the members of the Women on Board, because I think that these great initiatives, and as we spoke before we officially start with this meeting, and as you said, this is something which we somehow always forget, but it's very important to encourage each other, especially, I would say, women's all around, I would say, the world, all around our region, to stand up and step out, I would say. So this is something, this stand up and step out, this is something what I catch from my Deloitte, I would say, time, from my Deloitte career, because within the international, I would say, multinational, I would say, large corporation, you have a lot of trainings, you have a lot of, I would say, initiatives which you are obliged to participate if you want to, I would say, be promoted through your career within this institution. And I think that this is something which is very important, because if you only, if you are employed and you are going every day to your, I would say, job and to your work, just to do your operational work without finding, I would say, the space for your individual growth, then I think nobody will be satisfied. you will not be satisfied. I would say your institution will not be satisfied. And at the end, I don't know how it will, I would say, end it. So because of that, I always support this type of the initiatives, whenever, with no difference whether they are organized within the institution where I work or organized, I would say, outside on behalf of some, I would say, other institution or the initiative. So thank you for this, I would say, nice introduction. And let's go now to your, let's say, answering your question. So just shortly and briefly. So I have now, I think, 30 years of working experience, full 30 years of working experience. Started with 22 years when I was 22. Now I'm 52. It's easy to calculate. Started as a researcher within the Economic Institute. So, and at that time, Economic Institute was, I would say, the leading think tank, not only in, at that time, it was not Serbia, it was one of the Yugoslavia. I can't now remember which one, but it was a bigger, I would say, country. And not only, I would say, in our country, but also in the region. At that time, Institute was in joint venture with the Deloitte. Deloitte was the one of the big four, I would say, leading auditor and the consulting company. And the Institute brought, I would say, Deloitte on this local market, first in Yugoslavia, in Serbia, and after that, I would say, they spread their business all around neighboring, I would say, countries. So, and this was, as for the young, I would say, lady who just graduated, I would say, at the university, it was very interesting experience because it was not typical financial institution or the, let's say, any company within the real sector of the economy or the public company. It was really think tank, and it was the place where I could gather more knowledge, where I could get also the experience working on a different type of the project, because at that time Institute worked also with the international financial organization like EBRD, IFC, OECD. So there was a lot of project which was done and proceeded at that time in this region. So I participated at that project also on one side, and on another side, they also provided consulting services to the companies and the, let's say, financial institutions. So this was more micro. So the first part of the doing business was, I would say, macro orientation, where you can get the knowledge about the monetary, fiscal policy, foreign trade policy, everything, how, I would say, one country and the economic policy work, and the decision makers make their, I would say, decisions and govern with the country. And on the other side, working with the real sector of the economy and the financial institution will give me this micro, I would say, perspective, and providing the consulting services. And this was very, I would say, for the young lady, for the young person, I would say, especially, and the lady, it was very interesting for me because it was continuation of my continuation of my education, I would say, like that. Parallel with my work, I continue formal education, master degree, after that PhD degree, because this was something what through the institute I understood and realized that it will enable me, I would say, to my personal growth, enable my personal growth, not only professional, but my personal growth. So this was not because I would be the master and I would be the PhD in economics, but I really felt that it will enable my personal growth, because I'm individual who always likes to learn. And even if I have now 30 years of experience, I think that it's always until you are live, until you are learning. Once when you stop learning, and once you stop to be interested in something not new, whatever, it's not maybe new, but it's maybe different, then you are not alive anymore. So this is my, I would say, life philosophy. And if I transfer this to my, I would say, professional part, then it gives me strength to always continue with something. If it's not new, then different. So, and because of that, after Deloitte time, after Institute, at some point, Deloitte and Institute split, and I decided then to remain within the Deloitte, not within the Institute. I was the executive director of the Institute, but they offered me to be the regional leader for the business advisory, not for Pannon Adria. It was Pannon Adria cluster, which was former Yugoslavia plus Hungary. And it was also challenging. It was something bigger when I would say previously done. Previously, I was the executive director of the Economic Institute. So, okay, I leading this project, what I described, but this was now regional exposure, and this was challenging to me. And I think that in the life, if you want to go forward, you always need to have challenge. Don't afraid of challenge, because if you are not challenged, then you will not develop yourself. You will not develop yourself as a person, as an individual. You will not develop yourself as a professional. So take the challenges. So this is something which I would be, I think I would recommend as a first, I would say, recommendation in life. Take the challenge, not step behind, or I don't know, somewhere where you can not be faced, where you cannot be faced with these challenges. So then I joined Deloitte as the leader for this, I would say, business advisory for Boards Adria. And my goal was to develop, I would say, a practice to transfer, I would say, Deloitte know-how or the knowledge from the Central and Eastern Europe and Western Europe to this region, to enlarge, I would say, the number of clients, Deloitte, which will be, I will become Deloitte clients, and then to implement different type, I would say, of project. And then I focused myself to this financial service industry, which means banks, insurance companies, brokerage companies, and whatever, I would say, other institutions which deal within the financial sector. And this was then from micro, I gained this industry, I would say, expertise. And I worked with Deloitte for 7 years. In Institute, I was 14 years. In Deloitte, I was 7 years. And then my last project within, I would say, Deloitte, it was to establish one foreign bank. They came, I would say, to Serbia, and they were interested to not to buy the bank, but to have the greenfield license. And I tried to explain that it's better and easier, I would say, to buy the bank, but they wanted to, I would say, have as a greenfield. And this was my last project. They, at the end of the project, and I did it, I would say, within the Deloitte, establish the bank, employ the people, provide the business plan, all the procedures, IT system, everything. And then they offered me to join them as the CEO. And at that time, I would say NK Group was one of my clients within the Deloitte, and I have regular meeting, I would say, with one of my clients, with the owner, I would say, of the NK Group. And he told me at the, let's say, working lunch, okay, what is new, what is going on? And he always wanted to know what is going on the market. And I told him that, okay, you know, the project they finished with this, I would say, investor, they offered me to be the CEO of their bank. And then he offered me, why don't you come to iBank? And it was a switch. And I said, how to come? I'm in Deloitte. I have a partnership, I would say, path. I have now the offer to become the CEO of this bank, what I established right now. And this is challenging for me because I established everything. Now it needs to run. So, and it's challenging, and it will be interesting now to run it. And he offered me, and then I said, okay, I will think. And at that point, I had 7 days to this, I would say, my client in Deloitte to answer whether I will accept their offer. 7 days to answer to this, I would say, owner of the MK Group, whether I will come, I would say, to iBank. At that time, he was not 100% of the owner. He was one of the shareholders of, I would say, bank. And it was pretty, I would say, challenging for me to make the decision. And at the end, emotionally, I was connected to the project because I would say, established the bank, and now it will be interested to run. But somehow iBank was already positioned on the, I would say, local market, but not as a systematic, but as a regional local bank. And then I decided to accept this offer, I would say, and to go to, I would say, iBank. And then new journey start, because I always like to have a new journeys in my life. So don't be too long, I would say, at one journey. Just change it, because this is something that's give you more interesting, I would say, more interest, I would say, and more interesting life. Let's say like this. And then I start with Ike, and the journey started very soon. It was 2015. In 2016, we bought one Alpha Bank. It was a Greek subsidiary here in Serbia. In 2016, we also acquired 10% of Gorenska Bank in Slovenia, because this is one of milestones which I'm very proud of, because as the local Serbian bank, we get all the license, I would say, to be the shareholder of the bank within EU, because Serbia is non-EU country. And okay, it's very demanding process, I would say, to get the license from the ECB to be one of the shareholders, I would say, within the bank, within the EU. because the regulation within the banking industry is very strict all over, I would say, the world, more strict in Europe than in the US. However, the same regulation, this is something what I said, usually say it's very good because the same, almost the same, 99% is the same regulation within the EU and the banking sector, I would say, in Serbia. So from that point, Serbia is harmonized with the EU regulation. So I think that this is the only sector where we are almost fully harmonized. But again, it was really something what I'm proud of, because as a local bank, as a local player, non-EU, I would say, bank to get the license to acquire, I would say, the bank within the EU. And this is the second then acquisition, what we proceeded. After that, in 2000, then we had 2020 COVID. In 2021, we started negotiation with Sberbanka about the 6 subsidiaries, I would say, in the region. We closed, I would say, not the deal, but we signed the contract in 2022. But then Ukraine-Russian war happened. It was a totally unpredicted situation. And from that contract, we bought only Sber in Serbia, because at that time it was the run of the money from the Sberbank, I would say, all around Europe. The Czech was the first bank who went down. And then ECB decided to leave the local central banks to decide whether the restructuring plan will be activated or they will be, I would say, put in the liquidation or the bankruptcy. Hungarian central bank decided to go to liquidation and the bankruptcy. In Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, and Serbia, the central bank decided to sell the banks through the restructuring plan. And then this was the way how we closed, I would say, the deal with Sberbank, I would say, in Serbia. And after that, parallel with, I would say, closing this deal, we started communication with another Greek affiliate, I would say, in Serbia. It was the Eurobank Direktna. And this contract was signed May 2023, let's say, and closing was in end of November, beginning of December 2023. So it was pretty, I would say, interesting and dynamic 9 years as the CEO. And this is something what I'm also the second thing I'm very proud of, because in these 9 years, I really acquire, because I really run all 4 deals as a lady. So acquisition is not only men, I would say, job. But it's interesting because always on another side on the table sitting the man. Majority was the men's, not, I would say, the ladies. So this is some second thing I'm proud of in my, I would say, professional career. And this is the fact that I really acquire 4 banks, not only acquire, but also after acquisition, proceed with the integration and also run and lead, I would say, integration. So from that perspective, then from the AIK Banka, which was a regional local bank, we become systemic bank, I would say, in Serbia. We become the bank within the EU. The third thing I'm proud of is that with this all acquisition in Serbia, in Slovenia, and becoming, I would say, the bank not only in Serbia, but also within the EU, we became the banking group. And becoming the banking group, it's just not you have 2 entities and you have, I would say, consolidation. No, you need to have, because as I said, banking industry is very regulated. So you need to have the full structure, governance structure for the banking group. So, and this was the third thing I'm proud of. I really established this group. So we have the holding, I would say, on Cyprus, but the whole structure from the organization, from, I would say, managing board, supervisory board, and all these functions, which also you need as a banking group to have the same functions as you have in a bank, you need to establish on the banking group. But the difference is that the banking group is monitoring, I would say, what the subsidiaries is doing. They are reporting internally, I would say, the management, and reporting the ECB as the, I would say, ultimate regulator of the whole, I would say, banking group. So this is the third thing I'm proud of. So I'm now in the board of directors in AIK Banka, supervisory board of Gorenska Banka, and also board of directors of our banking group. So I'm on all 3 levels because, as I would said, I like to say I really create this. So, and now it's I'm very pleased to sitting, I would say, on this board level, because now we have as a group. When I joined the IK Banka, it was 1.3 billion of euro asset, and it was 400 employees. Now we have 4,000 employees within the banking group, and we have around 9 billion of assets. So, and this is something what I'm really proud of, from 1.5 to go to 9 billion, from 400, I would say, to now have 3 entities within the banking group, to have the banking group and this holding, to establish all these, I would say, procedures, infrastructure, reporting, governance, everything, but it needs to be organized in a proper way, I would say, for more than 4,000 people.
Right.
So shortly or briefly.
No, while you were speaking, I actually had to look twice back into my notes, because I remember you joined IK Banka at 2015, and it seemed like so many things happening those 9 years.
Yes.
I was looking back, is it 2015 or I misread something? So it's a lot of events in the last 9 years. Maybe 2 things kind of were highlighted for me among all the great things you said. One is that all these challenges, kind of accepting challenges, what you were saying, they to some extent, and I'm interested if you agree, bring as well the kind of being in peace with failure. I mean, not in peace, but kind of being able to accept the failure and move on, because otherwise we would never take on any challenges, because they won't all turn to be successes. And also, although the banking industry is kind of, when we look into banking industry, we see a lot of women. It was interesting when you mentioned that although there is, comparing to other industries, a lot of women, all your counterparts in all these negotiations were actually men, kind of telling us that it is narrowing towards the top. The pipeline is pretty unfair, I guess, still. So maybe if you can reflect on those 2 questions.
Yes, it's pretty like you described. It's narrowing when you are going to the top. So when we are talking executive board or the supervisory board, still, even within the Europe, still regulation insists to have 25% of women, I would say, within the board, because on the top it's very narrow, and you have maybe 1 lady or 2 ladies, depends what is the size, I would say, of the board. And something what I am against is this quota, because if we employ ladies just because to fulfill the quota, then essentially the ladies will not have, I would say, the crucial role, or I would say within the board. They will be in the board because they need to have, I would say, to respect the rules and to respect, I would say, the guidelines. But this is something why I am against. When I was, I would say, the CEO, and now when I'm, I would say, involved in the recruitment of the top management within, I would say, all these subsidiaries, I really don't make the difference between, I would say, ladies and the women. For me, it's a competence and it's the character. If you have the competencies, great. But the second very important is the character, your work habits, your skills, I would communication skills, your collaboration, I would say, skills, your team working, I would say, skills. This is something which is even more important than the, I would say, your capabilities or the competencies, because the competencies you can build, I would say, over the time. But these skills is something what, okay, you have or you don't have. You can build it over the time. But if you're natural have these skills, then it will be more easier to integrate you in the, I would say, the team and in the system, but also you will have the more possibility to integrate others, I would say, to the same idea, to the same goal, to the same vision, or the same, I would say, mission. So from that perspective, yes, within the banking industry, you are right. There is, comparing to others industries, more, I would say, ladies, but on the lower level, B-1, B-2, yes. For example, in our group and in IK Bank and in Gorenska, we have more ladies on the B-1, B-2, and B-3. In the on the top management, I would say, level, executive board. At my time, it was 3 ladies. We have 5 members, but 3 ladies. In Gorenska, it was only 1 lady. Now it's they have only one lady. Now they have only one lady. Something what is my, I would say, goal is to promote in, I would say, in the upcoming period, not only to fulfill the quota of 25%, I would say, comparing to the size of the board, but to promote, I would say, to enable better and easier promotion of the really good, I would say, women's who really earn to be the part of the top management. So from that perspective, yes, when we are going to the top, there it's narrow. And usually acquisition, merger and acquisition are usually, I would say, men's job. And this is why I have on counterpart usually a lot of, I would say, men's, and maybe one or two ladies who just was, I would say, the back office. They provided the data, they provided the information. And usually this is the split of the roles. The ladies are good, the women's are good, I would say, to provide the data, to provide you analysis and everything what men needs. And then he's the one who will have the show on. No. And this is something in my case, what I didn't allow. Okay, if I provide the data and if I provide you the information, analysis, conclusions, suggestions, and everything, okay, I have competence and I have the skills to present it into to get it, I would say, to get it. So it's not men's skills. And this is something what usually ladies and the women accept this role. They like to be not on the front. They like to be next to, or they like to be support. So this is also a challenge. Don't be support. Just take the role. Just take the lead. Take the lead with the equal, I would say, because I think that now, if I say the ladies are smarter, no, they're not smarter, but because in our life, you have also the kids, you have the parents, you have, I would say, the family, you have more wider specter of, I would say, things you are thinking of, and you are combining, harmonizing how everything's to go on. And men's only has the job, because men's world is job world and the football game. Job and the football game. So because I think they are more narrow and more stubborn when they need to, I would say, make the decision. So this is I would say, the big difference and the crucial difference between the ladies, the women's and the men's, because men's are stubborn and they want the decision to be like they want to be. And I think that the ladies are more flexible, more open-minded, because in their life they have a lot of roles which they need to harmonize and somehow to coordinate if they want to everything to function well, to be done well. And because of that, I think that the ladies are better leaders than the men, and they have also more empathy. They have more, I would say, passion for some things than the men. For the men, it's a job. It's how much money I earn and how big person I am. So this is, I would say, the main difference.
Just to remind everyone, please just jump in, raise your hands, start speaking, however you feel comfortable. But this made me remember when I was doing one consultancy, like it didn't go in line with the client wanted, and he had some suggestions, and I wrote this kind of huge apologetic email, and my male partner just wrote, "Oh, what a valuable insight. We'll get back to you in 2 days." And that opened my eyes, kind of how to accept it in line of this. Just kind of move on, keep moving. Do not explain yourself all the time. So,
and don't think on your path. You don't need to think whether everything will be perfect, whether you will fail or not. No, just go, because you know what you know who you are, and you know that you have the strength to stand up and step out. Mm-hmm. And to loudly say what you really think, because what you think is, I would say, the effects of your long work, a lot of studies, and I would say the real competence you have.
Yeah. I just saw a message that Amina would like to jump in with a question, so please do.
Yeah, this actually left me feeling so inspired, because what you're already saying really speaks to this essential moment in every woman's career, when you're just off the school, you have this education, you worked so hard, but then you actually get into workplace and you're really lacking the confidence to kind of speak up and trying to find your your space, your voice. I feel like that's one of the essential things that kind of helps growth within the workplace, within your careers. So now, looking back at your 30 years of this rich experience, what would you say to your younger self, or what message would you send to young women kind of entering the workplaces for the first time, being a little bit intimidated? I know, to me personally, the idea of mentorships is really interesting, and I was maybe interested if you do you have any opinions on that as well, as a way of kind of growing within the work community? Thank you.
Shortly, I would say believe in yourself, and even if anybody wants to discourage you, just give it away and believe in yourself that whatever you think and whatever you want to do, just do it. Don't leave them the space to, let's say, to discourage you. To have a mentor, it's good. And it's not necessarily to have one mentor. It's not necessarily to be the lady as the mentor. You can have the several, I would say, the persons whom not only inspiring you, but whom you see that you have the confidence. With mentors, you need to have the confidence. And the mentor maybe will not give you the specific help in any situation, but he will help you, or she will help you with the talks. With the talks when you don't have enough strength to fight with something what you're struggling with. And then this is the strength you need from the mentor, not specifically, okay, do like this or do like that, but through these talks, I would say, through taking the lessons learned, I would say, from their life and the situation they passed, you will get, I would say, the strengths, and I would say the answers on a lot of your questions will arise to you by its own. So from that perspective, mentor's role, yes, it's good. It's not necessarily to be, I would say, the lady. It's not necessarily to be only one person. You can choose the several persons, but this person needs to be the persons you have trust, and whom you trust. And this trust, I would say, needs to be developed over the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thinking back now, so you have kind of two hats that you're wearing. One is your, of course, personal career goals and your career, that is kind of your personal achievement, but also you were in charge of the big systems, and in sense of decision maker, you had a really big responsibility. And among our members, we also kind of have this mix of women who want to work on their personal development, but at the same moment are decision makers as well. So maybe from that perspective, you can give us an insight how you can change organization within, and what is important that important things that one organization have to have in order to encourage what you said, especially if you don't, if you personally think that it doesn't have to be connected with quotas, number, targets. For me, I would just like to challenge that. I'm just, maybe if you can reflect, do you think that is maybe because you are a woman, so you are kind of continuously aware of where other women are? Because I keep thinking of the organizations where only men are in charge, how they will ever think of kind of bringing other women up. Yeah, so yeah. Just kind of, yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But let's say not all men are the same. So there are the men who will give, I would say, the chance, I would say, to the women. But if they need to confront and to step next to you, there are no lot of men, because then they will went down and try to keep their own position. So they will not challenge they will not, I would say, sacrifice their position if they need to step up for you. So from that side, yes, you can support. There are the men who can, I would say, who see the also valuable role of the ladies, but as I said, as a support. And this will be their, I would say, motive to, I would say, open the space for the ladies and for the women to let's say, step up in some senior position. When you are on the top, yes, you have more, I would say, possibilities and more opportunities to promote the ladies and to promote the initiatives, which will not be including the ladies just because the quota, but including the women because they really, I would say, have the competence and, if I can say, literally deserve it. But when you are, because me as a CEO, it was easier for me because, okay, most of the decision I could done by myself. So from that perspective, I could promote, I would say, the women's, but not just because they are women's, but because when I compare that for the same position, I have the man and I have the lady, the women, I really look at the competencies and really look the skills. And it's really meant that the lady as a candidate is a stronger candidate than, I would say, the man. And because of that, my choice will be, I would say, the ones who is really better. And but when you are on the senior, let's say B-1, B-2, or not even on the, I would say, manager position, then what is the, I would say, the recommendation? To have more, I would say, friends or the more participants to which you will gather around the same idea, because this is then the critical mass. When you create the critical mass that you can promote something, then your voice is stronger. And then even if on the top is a man who doesn't have, I would say, the sense for this type, I would say, of things or the topics, he will be in the position that he needs to listen, and he needs not only to listen, to accept some of the proposition, because otherwise if he not accept, so he will not be the, I would say, good top manager who develop, I would say, the organization. So there is the instruments and there is the ways how you can fight, if I can say it like this, for a stronger position, and I would say more influence of the right initiatives or the right propositions, and within that, I would say, promoting the women's for the senior and the top positions.
I have a note here, and I was thinking to ask you about the challenges between work and life balance, and it kind of resonating in my head that that's the question that we actually always ask only women. I never ever heard anyone ask a male CEO how you deal with life-work balance, but maybe it's also important to acknowledge that things are different for women. I mean, just a few months ago, I was talking to one lady who is on the board of bank in Bosnia, and she actually told me, and it got me struck, that, but I still take care of my parents, my children, and maybe you have means not to do everything kind of in person. You can afford some things that other people do, but that mental load is always there. So maybe if you could reflect on that.
Yes, as you said, when you have the man on the top position, yes, to ask him about the work-life balance, he will answer, yes, I have my wife within, I would say, at the home. She is, I would say, taking care about the kids, she's taking care about the family, parents, and whatever. But for the ladies, yes, you need to have the support, because it's not possible to be on the top position, because top position, it's not only you are doing the job, you are struggling and you are fighting all the days with all these prejudices or about the ladies, I would say, and the men's, because as a lady voice, your voice needs to be much louder and much, I would say, stronger, and you need the strength for that. So from that perspective, you to have this work-life balance, okay, even if you work during the day, for example, my day started 9 or even before 9, and I'm usually very often, I would say, in the office by the 7, I would say 8 in the evening. So what remains for your, let's say, private life? But what I would say remain for my private life is the weekend. Weekends is something which is really strictly for my, not family, but more from me as the individual and from something what I like, I would say. And within that is, of course, my family, my parents, and my friends. So from that perspective, you need to select some time. I don't know whether it will be the weekend. It was not from the beginning. It was something what I learned over these 30 years, because even over the weekend I work. But then I realized, okay, what my life it will be only the work, because yes, I like to show everyone that I'm the lady who is very capable and what, yes. And okay, I really like to do that. But however, I also like to have the friends. I also like to spend time with my family. I also like to spend my time with my parents. So from that perspective, then I started, okay, I will sit even in the office until 8 in the evening or the 9 in the evening. From the time when I leave the office, I'm not thinking anymore, I would say, about the work, and I'm not thinking the moment when I enter, I would say, come home, then I'm not thinking about that. On the weekend, I will not thinking about, I would say, the job. So this is something also what I collect from one of these Deloitte, I would say, trainings or I don't know, workshops what we have. And because I listened one of the men's, I would say, a speaker, and he told, you cannot do 2 jobs at the same time. So if you are with the family, then be with the family. If you are at the work and the office, then be in the office. And this is something what I think I collect from that time and then started to implement. When I'm in the office, okay, then it's work. When I'm at home, then it's home. These are then the home topics, looking the films, reading the books, go outside, riding the bicycle or whatever I will do. So this is whatever you do, then if you are at work, then you are thinking of work. If you are outside of the work, then don't think about the work. There is no urgent thing that cannot wait, I would say, tomorrow morning or the Monday morning.
Thank you. Yes, I was focusing. We got one question, so I will just read it for you. Considering your experience, not only with banking sector but also entire finance sector, and knowing how highly regulated the sector is, what do you think that regulator should introduce as a solution, not only for gender issues, but also sustainability, ESG topics, so these topics don't become just a bureaucratic load for employees, but an actual mindset shift? Very good question. Thank you.
Yes, this is very good, excellent question, because usually when I'm talking about the ESG, especially environment and this climate change, the same topic, I would say, as for the diversity and gender issue, quota will not, I would say, give you the essential change. If people doesn't start to think that, okay, if I don't respect the nature, then the nature will be destroyed, then there will not be sustainability. So whatever procedures, the regulation is something what can give the initial push, I would say, and initial, I would say, action, because usually the regulator prescribes something, then the banks need to, I would say, implement, because the banks are the most regulated sector, and then the real sector of the economy started to implement, because otherwise they cannot have the business relation with the bank. And usually if you want to have the open account, if you want to have some credit or the loan to financing from the bank, if you want to have to deal with the bank, then you need to respect. And in order to respect, then they started to implement. So because of that, they usually like to say that the banks are transmission channel between the regulator or the creators of the economic policy and the real sector of the economy. Regulator prescribes something, we are give the guidance, I would say, or describe, design the regulation. We are creating our policies, procedure, whatever, and then the real sector needs to respect. If they want to deal with the bank, they need to deal with the bank, because they need to open the account, they need financing and everything. And then this is the way how it starts implementation. But if this is one side, on another side, there is also the mentality, I would say, of the people. How to, let's say, not to jeopardize, but how to overcome. Okay, I will just respect formally, but essentially I will present some figures to look like they need to be, I would say, seen in order I would have the approval, but essentially it will not work, I would say, in the life. And this is something what is what can jeopardize, I would say, the old things. And from that perspective, regulator can prescribe something, we can insist on something, but promoting this through the very often even daily actions, I would say, initiatives, activities, this is something which is essential to change the mindset of the people, to know that, okay, if we are not green, if I personally, as individual, don't taking care about, I would say, the environment where I live, then there is no regulation which can enable that something will be built or something will be sustainable. So, but this is the process. This is the process, and it will take time. And I think that, okay, with the younger generation, it will be more easier because as I can see, the younger generation is more oriented to sustainability. Even in the fashion industry, when you see now there is a promotion of the, I would say, brands which are don't consuming, I would say, the nature and do not jeopardize, I would say, the nature. So which enable really sustainable products. So from that perspective, I think that over the time, how the younger generation will evolve and develop, I would say, through their life, it will be easier, or it will be, I would say, a shortened period to really act and live in the way to enable the sustainability of the environment, of the nature, of the economy, of the, I would say, globe.
As we are approaching the end, I just really want to do what annoying thing that hosts really sometimes do, and that is encourage you to ask questions. I got a kind of insight that Katerina would like to ask a question, and also Christina, Andrea, Martina. As your cameras are turned on, I kind of think that you might be in the position to chat with us, so please do. And here is Katerina.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm in front of the Institute of Physics, and I have a meeting at 2, but I really wanted, I'm very pleased to be present and to listen to Jelena. I'm actually at the board of Eurobanka Direct now. I'm trying to support from behind the scenes the entire process which she is heading and leading. And I have a question for Jelena. You are a member of many boards, as you explained. And I work a lot as corporate governance consultant with IFC and with different boards in the entire region. And somehow it seems to me that many boards have not really properly understood their role in the companies. I'm not talking about banking boards, but generally speaking. Can you tell us, based on your experience, what would be for our members, WOBA members, what is that necessary expertise, competence, skills which are really needed at the board? If women want to really be respected members of the boards, based on your experience, what are skills which they should sharpen? Can they really be, let's say, members of boards in different industries, or do they need sector expertise, or can they bring value with some kind of broader expertise like risk management, sustainability, or something like that? Or are the boards in our region still very monolithic, insisting on sectoral knowledge? Can you please share your insights? Because idea is somehow to groom our members for board positions. So what is really needed there to be respected and valued member? Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for this question. So my personal opinion is that sectoral knowledge for bank, yes, it's important, because even from the regulatory perspective, you need to have, I don't know how many years of working experience within the banks to fulfill the criteria that you can become, I would say, the board member. So this is something which is regulatory prescribed. But beside this, I think that something what is as a competence for the board member is, I would say, important, is to have this, I would say, wider approach, than to have the logical thinking, to have also the analytical approach, I would say, when they are making the decision, because from the board, as a top management is expected to make the decision. So to make the right decision, you need to have the open mind, you need to implement the wide approach, you need to have the analytics to understand, I would say, something what is presented to you. And also what is also, I would say, important, to be dedicated to something what you decide. Because if you oftenly change, I would say, opinions, then it will influence not only, I would say, your decisions, but also influence the colleagues which are sitting around you. So this dedication, I would say, to the decision you made is something which is very important to the success of the implementation of that decision. Because it's not only the making of the decision, but also the implementing. and dedication to the, I would say, decision you've done will enable easier, I would say, implementation, because usually for the implementation, it takes time. And if there is a changes of the, I would say, not fully, but some part, I would say, of the approach, then it's not necessarily that you will come to the successfully end of the implementation.
Thank you so much.
Maybe just to follow up with this Katerina's great question, there is a narrative that women lead in the fields of sustainability, ESG, and that there is, of course, the reason behind that is the knowledge, but also some of the, let's say, soft skills that maybe women have. And did you notice that in your work, especially now with the emphasis on these two fields, sustainability and ESG? From your experience, is that true?
Yeah, for ESG, if we are talking about the skills, it's a very new topic, I would say. It's a very new topic, so there are not a lot of developed skills on the, not only the local market, but even within the EU. This is something what I can see. So this is a new topic, and now everybody works on putting the agenda, I would say, within their strategies, how I would say to implement, and not only how to implement the strategy, but how to develop the skills within the organization, which should then enable easier implementation, I would say, of the strategy. And this is actually maybe even more important than the strategy, because to design the strategy, I would say it's not so hard, and it's not so tough, but in implementation it will be tough if you don't have the skills. And since this is a new topic, then creating the agenda, how to develop these skills throughout the organization, not only to one department who will be responsible to implement it, but throughout the whole organization, because if you don't spread it throughout the organization, then you will not have the successful, I would say, implementation. This is something which is more important. And from that perspective, from that perspective, what I see now, that usually when you have the counterparts to speak about the ECG topics is usually ladies. I don't know why men don't like to, I would say, deal with this or new or the tough skills. Somehow for the men is always something more easier, I would say, where they can get, I would say, easier success. Let's say like this, that the usually men are taking topics, I would say, or the activities they can easily achieve the success, and ladies are somehow more patient and, let's say, more oriented toward this, I would say, sustainability overall, because of this other parts and other roles what they have in their life, and somehow usually tackles with the and deal with the hard things. And this ECG, I would say, sustainability is really hard things.
I see that Martina has a question.
Yes, hi. First of all, thank you, Jelena, for your very interesting lecture. I think it was amazing. And I only for the end of it, I was listening to it carefully, and I just wanted to ask you a question. It kind of ties to what Nevena just asked you and what you already spoke about. But if you could share one lesson learned with us in terms of like when you have this past experience in your professional career, you have a personal life, you obviously work hard towards balancing all of it. But when you get to the top league and when you get to the top notch and when you enter when you had to enter the room full of men and you had to show your skills, what would be one lesson learned that you could share with us without having to deliberately explain everything? But
yes,
how did you face the challenges? I think that's something that it crosses my mind. I'm not into this. I think it's something that we are all facing, but in the top level management, I think it's crucial. It's where
yes.
And thank you so much.
Yes, what will be, let's say, lessons learned or the takeoff? Try again. Even if you don't succeed in the first, I would say, spot or the first, I would say, momentum, don't discourage yourself. Try it again. So this is something what I would say as a takeoff or the lessons learned. Don't be discouraged, because it's not necessarily that it's your own responsibility, because whether you will succeed in something what you put in yourself, let's say, to achieve, it's not necessarily depends only on you. It can depend on the momentum. It can depend on the circumstances. It can depend on the environment, on the, I would say, other colleague. So all mix of all this can, I would say, influence that maybe at the first time when you try something, you will not succeed. But don't give up. Just try it again. Try it again. The same goal you want to achieve, maybe the same story, but it will be another time, another environment, and another, I would say, colleagues, maybe who will support the idea.
Yeah, I mean, as we are approaching the end, and I see that a lot of people are sending me messages that they need to go to another meeting, and let's prove everyone wrong that women keep track of time. It may be great actually to wrap up with this. Don't be discouraged, and the moment will come. So, Jelena, I mean, there are no words to thank you for your time and very honest and sincere conversation with you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and we'll hope that as our membership grows, you will come again to share your story within WOBA. I mean, thank you so much.
And thank you for inviting me. And now you give me, I would say, at the end, something what I would say as a second takeoff. And this is be honest and be transparent, because you only with the honesty and with the transparency, you will be what you are. And only with what you are, you will succeed to achieve what you want. So this is, I would say, let's say the final takeoff or the recommendation.
Thank you. I mean, we'll take your final takeoff forward. I mean, as a WOBA message. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining us. Just in case you didn't receive our invitation for a WOBA community LinkedIn group, please let us know, and so we can kind of grow our community and continue to work together. And thank you, Jelena, so much.
And thank you again for inviting me. It was really a pleasure and really honored to open, I would say, these sessions on dialogue. Really, believe me, this is really honestly from my heart.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.